So I might as well just make it a series to look at applications written in Rust, because today we're looking at another one. Today we're looking at an application called Skim, which is a Rust rewrite of FZF. Now, unlike a lot of the Rust rewrites that exist, FZF was written in Go, so it's not like this rewrite exists for the purpose of speed. So why exactly does this exist? Well, let's go and find out. So if you want to run this, the command for it isn't skim, it's just sk. I don't know why it's like that, but that's what the developers decided to go with. So as you can see, the interface looks basically the same as FZF. If you're just looking at both the applications side by side, you would not be able to tell a difference. And along with that, all of the same matching stuff that FZF can do also work inside of Skim as well. So if we say search for something like human, it's going to try to fuzzy find on human. And if there isn't a continuous string that actually has that, that's obviously still going to work as well. So let's see, that was a bad example. Let's try ZSD. There we go. So ZS, and then a bunch of characters in between, and D. So it works perfectly fine as a fuzzy finder. And along with this, there's other matching you can do as well. So if you just want the match to be at the start, you can put a caret there. So whatever you're searching for has to be at the start of the string. So in this case, everything is starting with /. So if we search for something like M, we're not going to get any results. But if we do say // and then M, it's going to work just fine. And along with that, you can also have something at the end of the string. So if we do something like, say, I don't know, IC, and then put a $sign there, only things that have IC at the end are going to match. If you don't want the string to break up across multiple words, you can start it with an apostrophe, and then say if we search for something like ZSD, it's not going to show all of those extra results, it's just going to show this one that actually has ZSD in a continuous string. And you can inverse the match by starting with an exclamation mark, so things that say don't include the term music. And if you include a space between queries, it must match on both of them. So in this case, not music, and it does contain models. But if you'd prefer to do an or instead, what you can do is replace this space with a pipe. So it doesn't include music, or it contains models. Now, all of that stuff existed in the regular version of FZF, so let's have a look at something new that we can do. And the first thing that I have is command mode. So I'm going to go over to my scripts folder, and what we're going to do is we're going to run this command right here. So sk --ANSI, the --ANSI is basically just there to interpret ANSI color characters correctly. That part isn't actually important. The important part is this -c here, and this is how we define a sub-command to do an extra layer of filtering. So in this case, we're going to be using grep, and let's just see what's actually going to happen. So as we can see, we don't just have the files, we also have all of the lines of the files as well. So I can say search for something like, I don't know, i3 weather. And what I can do now is I can switch over to command mode by pressing Ctrl Q, and as you can see, it shows a different prompt here. And now I can start searching for stuff that is just contained in the file. So I can say search for something like weather, and as we can see, we have this line right here. And if I press enter, what it's going to do is print out exactly what I selected, the file and the content included. Now you may have noticed that in regular mode, it didn't just search for the file, it also searched through the command as well. So for example, we search for something like else, and we're in regular mode, but it is also searching the file. I would like to see regular mode just search for the file name, and then command mode just search for the file contents, but it's not really that big of a deal. Now, I'm using grep in this example here, but really any file regex will work. So you could use, say, ag, rip grep, ac, sed, awk. Any of those are just fine. I just went with grep because that's something I have installed. If you'd prefer to start it in command mode, you can go and add a -i to the end of your skim command, and that's going to go and do that. Generally, I don't bother modifying the prompt text, but if you want to go and do that, you can include a -p, and that will be for the regular prompt. So let's just say prompt and a --command-prompt or cmd-prompt equals, and then whatever you want the command prompt text to be. So let's just call it cmd prompt. And if we go and run this now, as you can see, cmd prompt is that text, and the regular prompt is that text. Now, another cool thing this has is pre-selection. So that is selecting before the user actually has a chance to see the interface. So to do this, we first have to go and enable multi-mode. So to do that, we just pass in the -m argument. And the way that multi-mode works is if we press tab, it will then select something and scroll down. Tab, tab, tab. And then Shift Tab is going to basically select something and scroll in the other direction. If you want to unselect something, basically you just press one of the selection keys over the thing that's selected, and it will then deselect. And then when you press enter, it will then print out everything you selected. Okay, so let's try that again, but this time pass in --pre-select -n, and then set this to say 2. And what this is going to do is pre-select the first 2 elements. So let's try that again, and let's say 10. And that will pre-select the first 10 elements. We can also pre-select based on a regex, so this will let you do tons of things, but one of them you might want to do is say pre-select based on a file extension. So if we do sk-m and then pass in --pre-select-pat, and what we're going to do is pass in .*/.png. So we're going to say any number of characters here followed by a .png. So in this case, as we're going to see, every single file in this folder is going to be selected. And you can also pre-select based on item name. So the way that we do that is sk-m-pre-select-items. And then inside of apostrophes, what we're going to write is the actual name of the item. You can't just do fuzzy searching for this. It has to actually be the name that is shown inside of Skim. So in this case, let's do, say, ./dman. And as we can see, that one is matched. But if you want to match on multiple items, the way that we do that is fairly similar, but we also have to include a $sign at the start here. And the reason why we do that is just to make sure our new line characters are going to be interpreted properly. So \n, and then let's search for something like, say, ./dmtpfs. And if we search for that one, as we can see, that one has now been selected. And the last one that we have is --pre-select-file, which is basically the same thing as --pre-select-items, but instead you just pass in a file name that contains a new line separated list of values rather than just putting it inline in the command. There's a couple of other scripting options I think are worth mentioning. The first one that we have is sk-q, which will let you start Skim with a predefined query. So let's say we want to search for something like time. And as you can see, as we open it up, that is already written out for us. And if we want to do the same thing, but we want to do it for command mode, basically what we do is we just change this command here to --cmd-query equals, and then whatever we want to search for. Now this does use a different fuzzy finding algorithm to FZF, but I haven't actually noticed anything different. So the way you can actually go and change it is by doing the --algo argument, and the options you have are skim_v2, which is the default option. You have skim_v1, and you also have clangd. I've messed around with them. I don't know why v2 is the better one. I honestly couldn't tell you what the differences actually are. Now, I don't have a good way to test this feature, but if we go over to the GitHub page, if we go all the way down to the bottom here, as we're going to notice, where is it? Right here. This can also be used as a Rust library as well. I don't know why that was included, but if that's something that you want to do with this application, that can be done. I don't actually know Rust myself, so I can't test this out and tell you whether it's any good or not, but anyone who does use Rust, if that's something you want, hey, this is an option. Now, I haven't mentioned the performance differences between the two of them because in this case, it's actually very difficult to test it because these are both just very, very lightweight interfaces. And the thing that really controls the performance of a fuzzy finder is whatever application is used to populate it. So if you're, say, using find for FZF and then you're using FD for Skim, obviously Skim is going to be faster, but you can actually configure what command you want to use to populate the interface. So with FZF, that is FZF_default_command, and for Skim, that is Skim_default_command, and both of those are environment variables. So if you want to use the same thing to populate both of them, then go and use the same thing. Now, most of the other features are just re-implementations of what can already be done in FZF. So if you want to go have a look through the man page, feel free to go do so yourself. I don't really think there's any point redoing my FZF video, just doing it this time in Rust instead. Now, most of the functionality is here. There are probably things that are missing. However, I think that some of the extra features actually are kind of neat. I do have one issue though, so if we go and run Skim and we don't run it with an extra command, we can still get into command mode, and no matter what we do in here, obviously it's not going to do anything. I would like to see it so if you don't define a command to use, that command mode just doesn't exist. But that's only a minor issue. I think that command mode is actually an incredibly useful feature, and I could very well see myself using this very frequently. But besides that, it's just FZF. So I think that's pretty much everything for me. But before I go, I would like to thank my supporters. So a special thank you to Chris, Donald, Joachim, Corbinian, Andrew, Craig, Nathan, Montada, Chico Bento, Joseph, Pitty, Road, Tony, Brennan, John, Marek, Mikkel, Nate Dog, Nefite, Poe, Tees, and Zilva. If you want to go and support my work, them links down below to my Patreon, subscribe, star, leave pray, all of that sort of stuff. I've got my podcast, Tech Over Tea, available pretty much anywhere. And then this channel is available on Library, Odyssey, and BitChute if you want to watch on a platform that isn't YouTube. So I think that's pretty much everything for me, and I'm out.